Ooh. Can I close that?
Yeah. It's just airing it out because
Yeah.
the toilet's right here.
Let's do
A little awkward to have the toilet in the kitchen, but it's less awkward than having it in the living room.
It's very strange that I have a large nose, and I'll tell you why.
I guess you're privileged to have a big nose then, because you don't live in harsh conditions.
The habanero one? Holy fuck, dude. Woo! You know, maybe I've been treating this bike as some sort of parkour bike when really it's just a...
I once came face to face with a wild rhinoceros. That was pretty crazy.
I got stung by a bee once.
Welcome back to Burning Bow Business.
We're back.
We skipped a week. We had a busy couple of weeks, and it just happened to fall right underneath the priorities that came first, and we didn't have time to do it.
It was last week. There was not an hour to spare.
We were.
I think we
around.
thought about it, and we just kept on doing things, and hasn't happened a lot. I think it's fine.
It's the
We're
third
back.
time, huh?
But it does make me think always the thing of like once you miss it once, it's
hard
so
to do.
tempting.
It's so hard to do the second.
Yeah, because you're
some
just on
reason.
this roll, and then it's like, oh, now this week also it's not a very lax week at all. We have a lot of stuff going on as well.
Business is good, basically.
Yeah, business
We've
is
got
good.
a lot of work. We've been shooting some bids. We've got meetings. This week is full of meetings with new clients. Oh yeah, by the way, we got builders currently today.
Yeah.
So that's what you can hear in the background.
Yep.
It's not going to stop us.
God, this podcast is going to shit.
This podcast is slowly just becoming a I don't know. The content will be good.
Yeah.
We'll have a good conversation. Let's talk about what we did this week.
Let's do it.
Well, again, immediately I was like, well, we used to say that we're not going to talk about the videos we're shooting until we've done it,
Yeah.
because it's still work in progress.
Yeah.
But I feel like we can talk about like we went to shoot somewhere, for example, and talk about how that went.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what the video's about.
I think that's totally fine. Where should we even begin? When did it start last week? What was the first shoot back?
Well, we started shooting on Friday, but we were doing all the prep for that shoot, and then you were doing ADR with the.
That's what it started with. So that Thursday, I did ADR for Boris and Johan with one of my actors who I hadn't talked to in not over a year, just under a year. So that was very exciting to catch up with him again and do like a 2-hour, I think 2.5 hour ADR session, which is always interesting over Skype.
Yeah.
And then, so that was a long night, especially because he lives in New York. So obviously with the time difference, I have to kind of be sharp at like 10 p.m., right? Which is usually when I'm winding down for bed. I was like getting myself pumped up. I think I chugged another Red Bull that day. Called him, did that whole thing. And then Friday.
I swear we did something else on Thursday, though, because I remember being like, oh, God, that was a hard day, too. And I didn't do the ADR.
Yeah. I think there was something. Was it maybe beta boulders or something?
Gosh.
It's hard to remember, honestly.
Everything's starting to blur together.
Yeah. I don't know. We had something. And then what did we do Friday?
Well, then that's when we shot the scenes for
The first ones.
yeah.
What did we do?
Shot the basketball court.
Basketball court.
Shot the basketball court. Oh, I was location scouting the day before. I was going out and getting all the shit together for the shoot. All the props.
Right.
I need to go get the keys for different locations we needed access to. And I went to look at one of the locations that we had just found on Google Maps. We didn't know if it actually looked any good.
Which one was that?
Basketball court.
Right.
So I ran there and then ran home.
Yeah.
And so I came home. I was like, oh my God, that was a hard day too.
Yeah.
But we got a new light.
That's what we did.
We got a new light.
We got ourselves a new light, which is actually interesting.
This is
I
interesting.
think. Because
To anyone who cares about filmmaking.
Yeah. We finally broke down and bought a light. For people who are like, oh, good for you guys. It's like, it's an expensive fucking light. Lights are expensive. If you want a good one, and this isn't even top of the line or anything, I would say it's just good for like freelance filmmakers. We bought one.
We bought one.
One
One light.
One single
For 1,000 euros.
For basically 1,000 euros, yeah. So that was interesting because I think immediately you have to question in your head always when you're saying, okay, we're going to spend that amount of money, which was exciting as well because it was kind of our first purchase, I think, as a company.
It was.
So that light is really 50% yours, 50% mine. It's a very satisfying thing. Oh my
Just
fucking
hold
God.
on. Hold on.
Okay, I need to.
Yeah.
Is a very satisfying thing, and the difficulty is at times is that obviously there's more exciting things that we also want.
Yeah, like cameras and lenses
Right.
and cool stuff like
Right.
that.
And a little bit you have to go like, okay, everybody calm down. We're gonna get this light. We're gonna, because we need it, or we think we need it. And it was one of those things. We bought the light. We brought it onto the first day of set, which was also an issue because we thought it came with a battery, but it didn't. So then the question became, okay, do we wheel our portable battery?
Our portable 35 kilo battery.
Which I think portable is putting it lightly. I mean, I don't know how portable that thing
got
really
wheels.
is. It's got wheels, yeah.
But it still weighs a fuckload.
It
And when
weighs
you take
a
public
shit.
transport.
It weighs like the same as me almost. That thing is heavy.
Yeah, it might be more than 35 kilos.
Oh.
I just say that because I don't know, sometimes it's weird to be able to judge how heavy stuff is when it's not like a weight from the gym.
Yeah.
When you know what size it is.
It's also awkward to carry. It kind of bangs into your shins and stuff as you're trying to it's very strange. And it's one of those things with batteries where it's like, you're like, that can't be that heavy. And it must be lithium ion batteries or whatever are so dense.
I'd love to see what it
is
looks like on the inside.
insane how heavy that thing is. Anyways.
But it was so useful.
Anyways, so we brought we decided that night, we were like, hey, let's fucking do it. Let's bring the battery. Let's bring the light. We're probably not going to need it, but let's just bring it so that we have it. And it became the most used thing. Not the most used thing, but I can't even think.
I know, it's so hard.
I can't even think.
It's so hard.
I'm just rambling.
I don't know if you
Of my
guys can
heads in, like,
hear
5
how
different-
loud.
Oh, no, of
the
course they can
construction
hear
is,
it.
but it is so loud in here. When that thing goes off, I can hardly hear you. We had like a full portable production with a light, with a generator,
Yeah.
with
well,
all
no
of our-
generator, but
it's the equivalent
the
of
replacement of a generator. Yeah,
It's a silent
Yeah,
generator.
Yeah.
That isn't a generator, it's just a battery.
yeah.
That takes 18 hours to charge, that I found out
Dude,
the
that
night
thing
before.
is so sick. It's very cool. And then we had a light on set, a single light, and it was the most fucking useful thing. It was like as soon as we turned it on, it's almost as if I forgot the past 6 months of shooting, and I was like, how would we possibly shoot this scene without this light now?
Yeah.
As soon as you see it and the way it makes somebody pop and separates them from the background and obviously lets you let more light into the camera and the quality is better and you've got control over the light. It's not like, oh, there's a couple shadows from the trees. Let's move everything to try to avoid that.
It
Oh,
makes a
the sun moved.
huge
Let's move
difference.
everything back.
Yeah.
It's insane how much it helps. And as soon as we started, I was like, okay, we need a second one.
I think the videos we're shooting have been of a different level.
Yeah.
We wrote actual scripts for them. We held rehearsals with the actors.
Yeah. It's kind of the first time we've had
went
dialogue, to be
location
honest.
scouting. We did it just was of a different level. So
Yeah.
it made sense to also improve the kit a little bit.
Exactly.
And it's paying off, I think.
Yeah, and it's always a weird, back to the thing as well is we're not making that much money. So I think your intuition is like a squirrel.
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
let me save
Yeah.
because we don't have that much.
Yeah.
So I already need to start saving for the winter a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's totally counterintuitive that you actually do need to. Obviously,
to
that whole
spend the money.
spend money to make money, right?
Because
so
the videos we're now making, they're going to be better.
Yeah.
And they're going to get seen.
yeah.
And then we're going to get higher paying jobs next time.
Yeah, and there is a certain, companies are paying us a certain amount, and yes, we could just pocket all the money, but that seems like also against what we really want to be doing, which is giving people the best product that we can give them. So I think it also goes into that a little bit of all that should be obviously paying us, but then also a lot of it should be invested back into the company and to up the production, right? And I think it did make a massive difference. Such a massive difference.
What did you think about shooting comedy?
I thought it was fun.
What we're doing right now is they're all like comedy bits, comedy videos.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know what you call them.
Yeah,
Except
I mean,
for
they're
that.
like, for the people who saw the last round of videos we did for the vegan restaurant, the most successful one happened to be the one that had a tinge of, it was a more
Comedy.
lighthearted, right?
Yeah, the guy in the shower.
So then for our second contract with them, we were kind of asked to stay in that sort of
Focus
range,
on that,
right?
yeah, trying to make it funny again.
Which totally makes sense. I think we kind of agreed. We're like, yeah, if that's the one that ended up doing the best, then we should just continue on with that, which is a little bit intimidating because it's kind of like, are we funny? I don't know.
you know what? I think we just might be.
Maybe. But we shot it, and it's funny.
Yeah, I think it's turning out pretty funny. We're currently editing it,
Yeah.
at least parts of it. We've
Yeah.
got another shoot in 2 days.
Yeah. I think it's a little bit, it's I don't know if it's more difficult to shoot something that's funny, but I think like if we were shooting a dramatic scene, I would have a clear image in my head of exactly what I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the comedy, I think a lot of times you obviously set up a joke, that's scripted or whatever for your actors, but then you kind of want to let them
Yeah.
figure it out for themselves and play with it and everything. And then I think over time, if you nudge them enough, you start getting this like absolute gold of
We were talking briefly about what makes something funny and
Yeah.
how seemingly the exact same thing can be funny in one scenario and just cringy in another scenario.
Totally.
And maybe that's interesting to maybe try and talk about a little bit, because I think it has a lot to do with your expectation.
mm-hmm.
You build up something and then you break the expectation or you meet the expectation.
Yeah.
And it also plays on anticipation, I guess, which is slightly different. It's like you're waiting for something to happen. You think you know what it's going to be, and then it's different. And it tricks your brain for a split second to be satisfied in a specific kind of way that makes you feel like, oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
And it's like a very scientific thing in
It
a way.
is.
You'd think that comedy is like, oh, it's just it's funny. But
Yeah.
it's like it's so particular and specific and
Yeah.
very weird sometimes.
And there's so many steps where it could become not funny. It could be not funny in the shoot. It could be not funny in the edit. It could be
Yeah.
there's so many, like just the timing. I know you just edited that first scene. I thought you did a really good job. But it's like to get that timing right to make somebody laugh is like
It's a lot that
very
goes into
weird
it.
thing.
I'm like, why is this not funny?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, we just add like 5 frames here so that there's a little
Right.
bit more of a gap, and then it suddenly is funny.
Or things like you don't know, I'll watch something, I'll be like, oh, that's really and then I'll watch it again, I'll be like, wait, is that funny? I mean, it's even harder than, I think, like the dramatic scenes again. They kind of lose their shine over the course of like a lot, but like once you know the joke, a lot of times it's not funny very
anymore.
quickly,
Yeah.
right? You watch it 4 times and you're like, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
And then it's hard to remember like, no, that was funny.
It is hard to
Keep
remember.
that in there.
Yeah. That's why when you watch it the first time and you were really laughing,
Yeah.
it's like, well, okay, it is funny, at least to
Uh-huh.
one person here.
Right.
But you kind of start to lose sight of how it works.
Yeah. And then the other thing I thought was interesting was directing wise, it's very hard to. I just found it more because we've talked about it before that we're sitting. I mean, when we write something, we're sitting in the room for hours, just throwing out ideas. 80% of them are probably like total garbage.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a very like we know each other. It's a very you can be vulnerable. You can say something and it doesn't get a laugh, and it's still super uncomfortable when you do it. But I think we've done it enough now that it's like, okay, we'll get over it. I said a couple things during the shoot where I was like, oh yeah, do it like this, and nobody would laugh.
Yeah.
And then you just gotta accept it.
Yeah.
Try it. Be like, okay, that didn't work. Not let it detract you from like saying the next thing, because the whole point is like just trying a bunch of things until you kind of find, oh, that's what we were looking for. But I think sometimes you can get a little self-conscious of like, oh, what do the actors think? Do they think I'm a total fucking idiot? You know, I just gave out 2 ideas that were totally shit. So now the third one, they're probably like, oh, fuck this guy. He's not funny. I think stuff like that is just interesting to deal with. I could kind of feel myself losing them and winning them back, sort of in this like wave, you know. I don't know if that's me just being in my own head or...
I didn't notice that you bombed or anything. If that
no, not like bomb, but just like you're throwing out ideas.
I felt like
you know?
most of the stuff you said was genuinely funny.
Right. But it's just interesting, I think. Or the thing of like, I had that experience where it felt like it was going well, but it felt off to me. And then in your head, it's like, oh, but everybody else seems to be fine with it. Yeah. Okay. Should I still intervene here and just say something? And I did it. And usually at the end of the day, I'm happy because then we just have more options. Yeah. Right? I'm not saying, oh, this is going to end up being funnier than what we just did. But it can become a little bit like, you're like, is it fun? Everyone's like, no, that's good. And you're like, I don't know. I don't like it. Which is a weird thing, because how do you say that without it coming across as like mean or like, oh, I don't like what you just did. It's just being like, that didn't work for me. We got to try something else.
I think it's hard because we are both trying to direct it as well. Yeah. And I think for these ones, we definitely have slightly different visions of what it is and what is funny. I mean, just the way that we had to start working on these projects set it up to be like that, because I would focus heavily on writing them. I mean, we did initially write them together, but a very loose idea. You know, someone does this and then this and then this kind of. And then in order for us to continue working on Boris and Johan, we kind of split up stuff. Exactly. And then we come together at the end of the day or at the end of like every 3 days or something and like go through it a little bit. And I've built up something that I think is going to work and have like very specific ideas of why it's going to work. Yeah. And then you're forced to be able to understand that exact thing in the moment, which doesn't always happen. Right. And then, well, on top of it, it might also just not have worked what I was suggesting. But I think, many, you know, I mean, watching the footage now, it's like, well, the takes where I was like, that was really funny, where you maybe were like, I don't know. I think it is funny for different reasons, but I also think what you then came up with at the end is also funny. Right. And yes, it's good to have options at the end, but I think with this, it's good to have options at the end. Yeah. But, and it's an interesting dynamic because usually, I mean, like in film school, you just be like, you shouldn't have 2 people in charge. Yeah. There's a lot of just I could see theory why behind that. I think it could go nasty very quickly. Well, it's because suddenly you have to start like either we just we just ping pong the whole way through. Right. All right, we'll go with your idea now, and then we'll go with my idea, and we'll go with your idea, and then in the end we'll end up with a very kind of mixed footage that's funny for this reason half the time and funny for another reason the other half of the time, and it doesn't work. Or you have to start arguing your point at every turn in front of other people, right? And then they start to feel like, wait, do they even know what they're doing? Right. And so it's not like we were totally in disagreement about what was funny or what wasn't. No. So it wasn't that big of a deal. Yeah. But I could see in that situation, like, oh, I mean, there is a reason why someone has to be kind of like, all right, this is what we're doing. Because it's better to have a focus than have 2 things that might be good by themselves. Right. I kind of disagree a little, maybe. I think there is something really helpful to if I say something and then you might say, oh, that doesn't actually work that well. Right? That we're figuring something out that I really would have thought probably until I got to the editing room was funny and then could have watched it from a different perspective and been like, oh, shit. I think there is something super useful to, and I think the difficult thing is you have to kind of get rid of your ego a little bit when we're working together. It's a constant back and forth, and like you said,
it's like maybe the actors are thinking, do they even fucking know? But I'm like, there's something good about that. There's something good that we're not like pretending that we have all the answers in front of the actors, that it is an open, like we're building
I like
this
that.
in front of you.
I definitely
guys,
like
know?
that.
And I think that could go very quickly if you had somebody who was directing and was a little bit more old school, or like the way I learned it in NYU. They would be like, you know, don't talk to me like that. Don't even talk to me in front of the actors. Pull me into another room and tell me what the thing is, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, get over yourself, dude. Yeah. I think it's an interesting thing.
But like, without getting too much into what the videos are about, I feel like there were things where it was, in my head, it was that one of the characters is just, you know, completely confident about what he's saying.
Yeah.
And that it almost has to be like that throughout the video, because then it keeps you start building up that expectation of him, just whatever the other guy throws at him, he has an answer for it.
Right.
And that starts to become funny.
Right.
In itself, because it becomes more and more ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then you might have an idea that is, well, maybe he starts to become less confident. And then I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. But then that building up of anticipation and expectation is broken at this point.
Right.
So now if we want to go with what I think is funny,
Right.
we can't use these takes,
right.
even though they're good,
right.
and they're funny.
Right.
So it is, I guess it just creates more work, because then we have to do everything multiple ways and multiple times. And it starts to maybe get a little confusing about what the actual end goal is.
Right.
I don't know. I feel like it worked out though.
I think so. And I think it's the, like, having an open conversation about it and being okay with someone questioning what you're saying.
Yeah.
You know, which I think won't happen a lot usually on a film set. If I say something as the director, usually it'd be, okay, everyone just does it.
Yeah.
And with us, it's like, because there's no tier, there's no one person above the other. Although I think with this shoot specifically, I trusted you more because, like we said, you had kind of worked on it more.
Yeah, and
so
we didn't have
he probably
have the time
knows better than me
to really. We had a day to plan it.
Right.
A day
And we're
to
doing a
plan it
million things at
beforehand.
once, so it's kind of like, okay, trust him with this.
Yeah.
We'll go, but I'm still going to throw in if I think, you know, hey, I actually think this is kind of weird the way it ends now that I've seen it. And maybe that changes the 3 shots we just did, but it's kind of like, you got to say it and be like, you know what, I don't know.
Yeah.
And then see what other people think. Because I think the thing is always, it's because we can disagree on so many things. I think the benefit of that is that when we are both laughing really hard, it's like, oh, that's gold for sure. In my head, I'm like, you know, if Mads thinks it's funny and I think it's funny and we're both having the same reaction, there's something to that, because we have a little bit different sense of humor, maybe, blah, blah, blah. So it means that it kind of works on a broader scale. You know, it's a little bit more, yeah.
But even those scenes, I think we know what we're talking about when we were talking about not being able to stop laughing.
Yeah.
Both of us.
Yeah.
I feel like if you just take one of those segments, it's funny.
Yeah.
But if you take 5 of them, put them back to back, by the end, you are like hysterically cracking up.
Yeah.
And that is exactly that thing. It's like you've built up this theme and now it can just kind of go crazy.
Yeah.
You've created the rules essentially of this little weird conversation.
Right.
And by the end, you're just going along with it. There's no like, wait, did I just hear that correctly?
Right.
Which if you started with something like absurd,
Right.
you wouldn't have that.
Yeah.
It takes that kind of
Yeah.
building up to.
Yeah.
I think that's why blooper reels are so successful and so funny.
Because of the serious nature of them.
Yeah, you just show again and again and
Yeah.
again. You start to you get it by the end,
Yeah.
and now you can just react purely to the bit that's
Dude,
funny.
a good blooper reel can take me out of the deepest depression. It can. I feel like it's such a tool in my book. It's like if I'm actually sad about, like, I'll watch like a blooper season 1, season 2 of The Office or something. I will come out of it a different man.
I haven't even seen
pretty
The Office,
amazing.
and that stuff is funny.
It's fucking funny. All right. Anyways, fun shoots. That was Friday, and then Saturday. We can talk about that a little more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we needed to film with a pig.
Yeah.
We wanted to have a pig be part of the video.
Yeah.
And we looked up alternatives to actually finding a pig, because that's not the easiest thing in the world.
You looked up,
especially in shoot a pig in an environment that makes sense for the video.
Right.
Maybe easy enough just to go to a farm, shoot it through the pen. But
Right.
like we needed it to look like it was out in nature.
Yeah.
Part of the environment.
Yeah.
That one of the characters.
It was
is
interacting
in.
with one of the actors.
Yeah. And so I found this animal sanctuary that's like a 2-hour drive across the big bridge to the neighboring island.
Yeah. The mainland.
I think it's still an island.
Right.
It's like
right.
island.
But it's like the bigger.
Yeah, dude, I don't even know.
But I guess people think of it as the lesser because Copenhagen isn't
it's
in
called
it.
Foon. It's
Okay.
just that's the whole
Gotcha.
island. I hope it's an island.
I think it is.
We had like 2 shots we needed to get, but we did it anyways,
Yeah.
and we got all the gear.
Well, we didn't even have a car.
It was a big.
You can't just take the
It's a
you
big
type
effort
in-
to get over there.
You type in that farm in Google Maps, and it just says, "Oh, sorry, you can bike for 12 hours, or you can walk for like 2 days." And we were like, "How the fuck are we gonna do this?" And then luckily, you said, "Oh, maybe my grandma could drive us."
Yeah.
And bless her sweet heart, she drove us
All the
for
way
2 hours
All the
to
way
this
there,
farm.
all the way back.
And we got there, and nobody was at the farm to begin with.
Oh my gosh. So, yeah, I sent a couple of really long emails to
Yeah.
them explaining the project,
Yeah.
explaining, our passion, explaining why it would be so helpful if they could let us film one of their pigs. Because basically this place rescue animals from slaughterhouses
Yeah.
or from abusive family. I don't even know what you call that, but they said that a lot of the animals that they have there used to be in places where they were
So
abused
a lot
or
of
kept in like horrible
donkeys.
conditions. Yeah, they're like rescued a bunch of donkeys. There's a lot on their website.
And
They're called Fields of Freedom for anyone who's
Gotcha.
interested. You can go check them out and follow them on Instagram. Yeah, they were super nice, and they said, like, come on over, and we'd be happy to. We can, see if we can move one of our pigs to a location that suits what you want to shoot.
Yeah.
Within our little area.
Yeah.
It's like, great, we'll be there on Saturday. This was like a week earlier and then throughout the week I sent them a couple of emails saying, oh, we're planning on being there at like 4.
Yeah.
Is that okay? They never replied. I just figured, they didn't check their email that often.
Yeah.
It took them a while to reply to the
I
first
live on a
one.
farm.
So we just went for it.
Yeah.
It was one of those things where I felt like if we didn't go because they hadn't confirmed,
Yeah.
they'd only like said sure,
Yeah.
and we didn't settle on a final time or
Yeah.
anything like that. We just like regret not having gone because I'm sure they would be okay with it.
Yeah.
So we just turned up, and then
That old school. I told you a week ago I'm coming. Here I am.
yeah, here I am. And sure enough, I mean, he happened to have forgotten
Yeah.
that we were coming. He was totally fine with it.
Yeah.
But there was this uncomfortable moment where, we'd driven our actor all the way up
Yeah.
there. We'd had my grandma
And your grandma had driven us.
all the way there.
Yeah.
We'd brought all of the equipment, stuffed that tiny car absolutely packed. We were
Oh my
sitting with
God.
all the stuff. We couldn't move. And we get there, and there's no one there. There's just a bunch, like 3 angry-looking dogs.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's a whole nother story.
And your grandma's, 3 guys and her in this tiny car. It must have just dropped the suspension because we're driving on these farm roads.
And it started scratching the
Just
bottom of the
The
car.
scraping on the bottom, and I'm like, oh my
like,
fucking
don't
God,
get stuck, don't get stuck.
please. Don't get stuck.
A combination
I'm like,
of
is that
don't
even
go too
okay
slow,
on the
don't
car?
go too fast.
Your grandma's kind of a badass. She was like, whatever, dude, here we go. She just kept going. I was like, damn. But yeah,
She was
It was
great.
fun.
And they turned up like 40 minutes later.
Yeah.
And we got the shots. We got great shots.
Great
footage. It's going to be amazing.
Great
it's
shots.
so worth the effort.
Yeah.
It'll totally sell.
Because the other
that
option
video.
was just to go and find some stock footage. And I mean, people can imagine, we shoot, you shoot your actor, and then when you cut to the reverse, it would just be some stock footage, right? And we tried to I don't know, somehow try to make them match up or something. But I think people would have definitely felt like
That pig is not there.
it's not there, or it's like, yeah, there's, so it was very satisfying to do
Get
the
some
shots,
real footage.
do
Yeah.
these pans where it's like, no, he's right there with.
We did full makeup on this guy as well.
Yeah.
We like sharpened a spear
It's
and
great.
everything. It looks good.
I
light.
loved it
The
up there,
light
too.
made it look great.
That guy kind of was my hero, just living up there with his.
The farm guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was so funny.
And the pigs, they were just like they were
Dude.
born to act.
It's
He threw a couple of grains
Yeah.
where we wanted to shoot.
yeah,
And they literally stayed there for like 2 hours
Yeah,
straight.
yeah.
Exactly where we wanted
Yeah.
them to be.
just slopping up
Amazing.
that grain. They're hilarious, and I don't. I must have seen a pig when I was younger or something, but I honestly felt like I've never encountered. I've never been that face to face with farm animals and stuff, and I was a little intimidated.
Yeah, you were a little
honestly.
scared of the donkeys.
I was scared of the donkeys because I walked first when they weren't there. I said, okay, I'm just gonna start walking in this direction and see if I just bump into somebody. I don't fucking know.
This was like in the direction of, it looks like nothing is
Yeah,
that way.
well, it was over a hill.
I was
I
like,
just
all right, I'll
just
wait
get
here.
to the top of the hill and
guess
see.
I'll let him do
see what
something.
happens. And first of all, it's fucking beautiful. Those tractors, I guess when they ride in the mud, they create those paths. That's exactly like it is where I grew up in Germany, where all the paths are kind of these two walkways.
Yeah.
Which is just like stone and then grass on either, and it's so fucking beautiful. And there's this line of trees going, and it was just, I was like, oh my god, this is like where I need to move when I'm older.
And then you saw a donkey.
And well, then I walked back, and all the donkeys started eyeing me, and I just got a little bit in my head. I was like, can they jump the fence if they really wanted to? And I started getting all this stuff in my head, and they're massive, and they make really weird sounds, like sounds that
Sounds what donkeys make.
I guess, but they're
You
like,
just never heard a donkey make the sounds.
I know, but it feels like oh my god, what's
They're
happening?
screaming.
Like what's going on?
Yeah.
So they freaked me out a little bit, and then the pigs I thought were really cute, but they were hilarious too. They didn't look like pigs at all, like at least what I had thought
I like
of as
hogs,
pigs.
like hairy hogs.
They're hairy.
Like black
You
hairy
can't see their
hogs.
eyes. They've got tiny fucking beady little eyes.
Can't see them, yeah.
They make the weirdest sounds, and then it was just hilarious. It was just a great experience. It's just living the life up here. I love it.
Oh.
I absolutely loved him, and he even gave me a hug afterwards, and I think we had a bit of a bond. And
Maybe you should move up there.
Huh?
Maybe you should move
I
up
thought
there.
about writing him and saying, if it was easier to get there, I would have
Yeah.
been like, hey, if you need help on Sundays, I'd love to but there's no way I can get up there.
I mean, this is another thing.
Mhm.
This is a nice segue. So while we
Sure.
were driving up there, I was on Google Maps checking how far it was, and it's 183 kilometers. And
Yeah.
it takes 2 hours. We're driving on the highway for, I'd say, like 95% of the time.
Yeah.
Towards the end, we were driving on some tiny roads.
Yeah.
And suddenly it dawns on me that 180 kilometers is the length that I have to bike in
Yeah.
the Ironman.
Yeah.
And it's the first time I've thought about that
Experienced
distance.
how far that is.
Yeah, I was in the car for that long.
Yeah.
And I just imagined myself on a bike
Yeah.
next to the car going so much slower.
Yeah.
Having to go that whole way. And so what I want to do is I basically made a very detailed day-by-day plan leading up to the exact day when I'm running the thing. And I need to get a bike.
Yes, you do.
I've set a deadline. There's in the calendar, it says need a bike by this date because that's the first day that I'm doing a bike workout. But the running and the swimming I've been on top of, or at least the running recently, and I did swimming.
Okay.
I haven't done that for a couple of weeks now.
Okay.
But I want to make it into some kind of bet. It's almost like it's not necessary for it to be a bet with a consequence because I'm that into it. I'm like, I'm not going to not do it.
Yeah.
But I want some element of like, if I skip, like what's hard is that we were so busy at the moment.
Yeah.
And so having to do this on top of that, that's what's going to be hard.
Right.
It's not that I wouldn't do that. Like if I had plenty of time,
Right.
like I'd be totally into doing these
Yeah.
workouts, but some of these are, it's like think an average of 13 or 14 hours a week of training. And like over half of it is biking, mostly on the weekends. So I want some kind of accountability to having to do it, even if we've like been on a long day of shooting or we have a deadline or something. I just need to get up and do it, like get up earlier, or just do it when I get home, or figure out a way to do it, because I think it would be easy to in the moment skip, you know, a handful here and there.
Yeah.
And I really want to try and do the actual full 12-week Ironman training schedule that I've Googled my way to finding. I typed in 12 weeks Ironman, full Ironman, first PDF that I didn't have to pay for.
Yeah.
Downloaded that. That's what it is.
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing.
Hell yeah. Well, that sounds exciting. Make a bet. Make a little bet.
Here's the other thing. The baby is almost due.
The baby is
There's like
basically about to bust out any second now.
There's according to the due date, there's 32 days until the due date.
Okay.
I believe.
Yeah.
31, 32, 33.
Wow, what a bad parent.
Somewhere around there. But that is a date where, you know what, I might just have to skip a training on that day.
Yeah.
Maybe the day after as well. Maybe the day after as well. So there needs to be something. There needs to be some kind of flexibility, like, because I obviously don't know what it's gonna be like.
Yeah.
But I still want to I still want to do the training.
Yeah.
Sound like a psychopath here.
Yeah. No, you don't.
But something like maybe I have something like 4 days where I'm allowed to cancel out something, and then I can, because what I like about the program I have is it's on Monday you do this, on Tuesday you do this, and there's specific days. It's not just like you should do this in the week. It's like by day, and if I miss one, I just miss that workout and I jump to the next one. I don't then push everything, because it has a whole taper thing at the end, and I want to, you know, obviously do that.
Yeah.
So I can't just miss one and then just push everything a day forward.
Yeah.
So if I miss one, I miss one.
Yeah.
And so I want something maybe where it's like we create a bet, but I have 4 days that I'm making this up on the spot. I'm going to think about this properly. But where I can say, okay, today's one of those days I'm taking a day off.
Yeah.
That might work.
Okay.
We'll see.
That sounds fun. Maybe I'll join you, not with the workouts, but with, I just wanted to drink more water. So maybe I'll join you on that
sounds
one.
hard, man.
I don't know. It's pretty tough. Going for 2 liters a day. So, you know, maybe we can do seems like the same sort of difficulty. Seems fair. You know what it would be though? It would be easy for me to forget. I think because it's such a small thing. It'd be higher risk, you know.
But it's also like
low energy but high risk bet.
High risk.
Low effort.
Low effort. Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
I gotta order another pizza.
It's really just about remembering.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, how are you feeling about running so you saw the 180 kilometers and you said, holy shit, my taint is going to hurt so much after that.
It's just one of those things where I'm like, I'm focused on the swimming because that kind of freaks me out a little bit.
Yeah.
And that seems intense.
Yeah.
And the running, I know what that's like, and I know how hard it is to do a marathon.
Yeah.
And then the biking to me is just like this concept.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really know what it is.
Yeah.
I have no reference. I've never biked before. Like, obviously, I've ridden a bicycle before. I've never really done any serious bike working out of any kind.
Right.
So
I thought
it's a complete unknown.
Yeah, when you said that people say the transition from biking to running is something that you have to get used to, and it just made me think that, you know, me and my mom used to go on some pretty long bike rides, and it would be like, you know, I hadn't ridden a bike in like, let's say like 8 months, and I would go and I would ride with her for maybe like 20, 40 kilometers, something like that.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, I'm fine. And you get
next
off
day,
the bike,
yeah.
or just getting off the bike,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
oh, and
Yeah.
everything is just feels so strange, and all these muscles that you haven't used, and like your ass hurts, and
Yeah.
it's pretty intense. But I guess that's why you train
Yeah.
and don't just
But like,
hop
yeah,
on the
of course,
bike
of
the day
course.
of.
See, I've there's a couple of things. If I did the Ironman tomorrow,
Yeah.
I think I could do it without any bike training.
Mm-hmm.
But it would be incredibly painful, and I would probably really hurt myself, both like just from like skin rash,
Yeah.
not having the proper, like not having worked my way up to
Yeah.
biking that kind of distance, and just muscle fatigue, and then having to run on them afterwards.
Yeah.
But I would be able to do it.
Mm.
But I want it to be something that is an enjoyable experience. Not that I'm not expecting it to be painful and hard and like a serious mental challenge, but I want it to be something that I look back on as in like, oh, I really put in the work beforehand.
I see.
To have a good race as
I see.
well. Like it's not just about like, I'm going to get up and just push my way through the whole thing. It's like the training is really the whole part. And that's part of the reason why I want to do it in the first place, is it creates this insane training schedule. Like even without this intense 12-week program I'm about to start, starts on Monday.
Okay.
I've obviously been training a lot more than I've ever trained before.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the fun part of it. It creates all these new habits in you.
Gotcha.
Just can't, like all the audiobooks I've listened to, all the times when I've felt kind of stressed and then afterwards felt great because I went for a run or did the workout.
Yeah.
Or all the mornings when I got up early to go swimming and didn't want to, and then afterwards like I did it anyways.
Yeah.
And like that's the part. That's why I want to do it.
I see.
And then, but it's like you need that thing at the end. That is why you're doing it.
Yeah.
So every time I go out for one of those things, I'm thinking about that. That's what's getting me to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't. We've already talked about this a little bit. Like you need the goal to go on the journey.
Yeah.
But it's about the journey,
Yeah.
not about the end result.
I see.
So it's not about like I need to train so I can finish. It's like I want to train because I want to be like I want to do it right.
I
Like
see.
be honest about it and like actually put a lot of work into it and then put a lot of effort in on the actual day as well. That's why I want to do it. That's why it's part of the documentary about me becoming a dad as well, is like putting in the work and the hours when all this other stuff is also going on. I'm still having both the discipline but also understanding why you're doing it. Like I told Phoebe, I said, like, once the baby is born, I'm still going to work out in those days because it's going to make me, I'm going to be better at helping you, at being calm, at just being a better person, better father, because of the mental clarity it creates.
Yeah.
That's not like I'm, in a weird way, I'm trying not to be selfish and go out and just work out because I like want to.
Right.
It's like that's gonna make me ready when I come back and like I can focus and I can really do a good job.
It's exciting.
Yeah.
Do you think about the baby a lot? How much of your day is consumed with, or do you kind of go in and out of thinking about it? Or is it becoming,
Do I think about
normalizing
how
it?
much time it's gonna take to have a baby?
No, just in general. Just
I think about him
the
a
days
lot?
are coming closer. I feel like the closer it gets, the more I would be.
I think I've been thinking about it for a long time, so
Gotcha.
it doesn't feel like it's becoming more
Gotcha.
now. But I think specifically within like what we're doing with the business, I'm starting to really think about it.
I see.
There's a lot
How
that we're
so?
trying to get done
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
We want to get these shoots done.
Yeah.
We're getting new clients who are wanting to film in the beginning of May, and it's like that's when baby's gonna be
Yeah.
potentially due. So it's become kind of like a try to get as much done before deadline kind of thing, just so that we've got all the footage, we've got all this stuff that as much as we can,
Right.
done beforehand.
Right.
Which, yeah, so I've been thinking about that more.
Cool. You were talking yesterday also about the whole, like, you thought that maybe having the baby sort of pushed you to work a little bit hard. Like, you were questioning, would we have all these jobs if you hadn't had the baby?
Well,
I think this gets a little bit into the law of attraction.
You did that interview with me like a month ago.
Yeah. Which, by the way, now that we have a new light, I feel like...
We need to do again?
Yeah.
I like the way it looked, though. It's like...
we can still do another one.
It's just simple.
Yeah.
And we were talking about how I very much... I was talking with Phoebe, and I said, I don't want to have a baby or try to have a baby until I can see that what we're doing with the business is going somewhere.
Right.
But as soon as I can see that, I'm ready.
Right.
And so as soon as we got our first paid job, I was like, okay, I'm ready now.
Yeah.
And you asked me, well, why are you so confident about that? Because even at that point when we were talking about it, we were kind of in a little bit of a dip in terms of jobs that we had coming up because we'd been focusing on editing Boris and Johan.
Mm-hmm.
And I said that the main reason is that if I know that that's going to happen, it in a lot of ways leaves no room for it not happening.
Yeah.
I need to get those jobs, which turns into we need to get those jobs.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not an option not to. So I feel like it would just happen itself in the same way that I feel like a lot of the times there's no right time to start. You just have to start and everything else will come.
Yeah.
Once you've started.
Yeah.
But that is the first thing you need to do.
Yeah.
So it was a combination of like, all right, but I don't want to be delusional about it.
That's what I
and
said.
not know anything. Like, yeah, Taylor and I, we're going to start a business.
Yeah.
And we're just going to have all this
Yeah.
gear and we're going to get all the jobs and everyone's going to love it. And we're going to be amazing. We're going to make so much money and I can support a family. It was like, all right, we think we are good at what we do and we have equipment. Let's see if someone else thinks we're good as well.
Right.
As soon as someone else has paid us
Right.
for what we do,
Right.
that we don't know, someone we don't know,
Yeah.
someone who's not trying to help us,
Right.
someone who just wants our services, that's enough for me to grasp onto and to create this sense of, okay, we can do what we want to do.
Yeah.
It's possible.
Yeah.
And there's nothing crazy about that to me.
Oh, totally crazy.
It's like, okay, we can get one job, we can get another, and we
Uh-huh.
can get another, and we
Yeah.
can get another. And by the time the baby is born, we're going to be in a position where that is responsible.
Right. I think it's interesting.
And now we are.
Yeah. No, and I think that's a very valid way of doing things. I think it's interesting because it's different from how I would do something.
Yeah.
Like I was telling you yesterday, to me, it's almost like, 1 degree further and you're a total lunatic living on the street who can't, and 1 degree back. And it's a very helpful sort of tool to push yourself and to put yourself in situations where you can succeed. And I think it's the better of two evils. I mean, I personally think I kind of land somewhere in the middle. Like I would take 6 months to a year and then go off of that. But then I have friends who've been doing the same shit for 5 years, 10 years. And I see that it's hard for people to say when, if you said, oh, we'll have a baby once the company's successful. That's a very hard
Yeah, what does that mean?
point,
Yeah,
right?
that's exactly
So
what I
think
thought.
I have, on the one hand, there would be you,
Yeah.
who's very like quick to do that. And then but I think it's the better of the two because the other option is I see people and it just time keeps going and going and going. And there's never going to be that moment that they're waiting for, right? So it's interesting,
I feel like what you need to be able to do is be very clear on what it is that you want. And knowing what it is also includes why you want it. So if, like me, I really wanted to have a kid.
Right.
We both did.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a big driving force that's obviously going to sway my actions.
Yeah.
To try and look for a way to have that happen.
Right.
Sooner rather than later.
Right. But you see the craziness of me starting a company, selling one bottle to somebody and being like, Let's do it. I mean, you can understand why people might think that's a quick thing to do.
Yeah, I guess.
Right. I'm not saying that I think it's like in many ways
Yeah, no, it's
an interesting way to live your life.
Because I know, obviously, because it's me. It's me. I'm thinking about what I'm gonna do, and
but
I
if
know
someone
that
else
I'm gonna
did
do
exactly
it,
what you did,
and I knew them, or it's hard.
Yeah,
it depends on who they are.
Yeah,
it really depends on who they are.
Gotcha.
I feel like if you can look at the person, you can see that when they've said they want to do something, they've really tried to.
Yeah.
And they're not quick to just say they want to do stuff.
Yeah.
I think everyone does it a little bit. Like, oh, I want to try this. I want to try that.
Yeah.
I want to do this.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean much until you're like, I really want to do this.
Yeah.
And you can kind of tell when someone said that and they meant it.
Yeah.
And then I feel like that's where it starts to split. And there's
Gotcha.
the people who start working on it then. And then there's people who just keep saying that they want to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
And as soon as I feel like I'm at the point where I really want to do that, it's like, okay, I'm going to set a date.
It's crazy to me. And I think it's not, I shouldn't say crazy. Crazy makes it sound like it's negative.
I know what you
mean.
Just
I don't have that sort of confidence or whatever you would call it. You know? That sort of belief, like, if I just work hard enough, it must work for me.
It's more that it's like, now I know that I'm going to be the limiting factor.
Right.
It's
See,
up
and
to
I
me.
would always think like, oh, there might still be something I don't understand this industry or...
But that's you.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
That's you not understanding the industry. So it's like you could figure it out if you tried enough things.
Oh, I see. Right. Interesting.
I feel like we do that though as a company. Like even just with Boris and Johan.
Yeah. What about it?
Well, it's like you're not waiting for any kind of external sign or person to say, yeah, you're good at this. This is going to do well.
Right.
And you should do this because of these reasons.
Yeah.
And here's a bunch of money
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
It's like, you know that you really want to do it. And that takes a long time to realize, do I really want to spend that much of my time and sanity making a feature-length film
but I
by myself?
I still set myself up for it. Right.
Yeah, but there's a time when you did that. When you went from, that'd be nice to make a film. I want to do that someday.
Yeah.
That's what I want to do, actually.
But my approach was to get rid of all my responsibilities.
And focus 100% on that one thing.
But it's two sides of the same coin almost, because the way I read you is, well, you're adding more responsibilities so that there's more, like you couldn't possibly not do it. Right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to. You're putting yourself in a position where it has to work.
That's what you're doing too, though. If you're
Kind
getting
of,
rid
I
of
feel
everything
like
else,
maybe if
like
you
quitting your job,
Yeah.
Saving all your money,
Yeah.
and saying it to people,
Yeah.
I'm making this film,
Yeah.
saying to me, I'm gonna fly you over, it's gonna happen this
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
There's no way you can't not do it now.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, there are, but then you have to deal with a bunch of huge consequences, which you don't want to deal with.
Yeah. Yeah.
I see them being very similar.
No, but I think it's cool. No, it's similar. It's definitely similar. Similar than
how's
we
it
think.
different?
Well, I wouldn't want the extra, like in my head it was, okay, you're getting experience out of it. Lily's getting experience out of it. Bennett's getting experience out of it. Everyone, even if everything goes to shit, the only one who really takes a massive hit is me. Right? Mm-hmm. And I don't need the money. So even if I don't make any money, I've put myself in a position where it's not like I need to pay something back or I need to, it's very much like I could swallow all it, right? Mm-hmm. And nothing would happen. Everything would be okay. The only one whose pride would be hurt was mine.
Yeah.
And that's the end of that. It would be very scary for me to have the thought of like, oh, this film needs to make money because I'm about to have a kid, for example, right? But then, yeah, I mean, that would just be a terrifying experience for me.
If our business didn't work and I was wrong about what I thought,
Yeah.
I'd still I'd get another job somewhere else
Yeah.
and work on the side.
Yeah.
There's still It's not like if it
Totally.
doesn't work, then
Totally.
the kid doesn't get born or the kid has to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
It's like then the best case scenario isn't the case and it goes to something else.
Right.
Something else. I mean, there's always something you can do.
Right.
But I feel like it sets things in motion and it allows, it's like it creates the opportunity by setting in motion the act of, all right, for real, saying I'm gonna do this.
Yeah.
And then you're, in one way or another, even if the film fails,
Yeah.
you've done something, and you can learn from it in a good way.
Yeah.
I think the same way is the case in my case. It's not like there's no, say that we hadn't gotten any other jobs.
Yeah.
First of all, doesn't that just sound a little crazy to not, for that whole, what were we doing that whole time then? Were we just sitting contacting the same guy with the same email for 7 months straight and saying we didn't get anything that whole time? Like, we should have.
No, we wouldn't. I don't think it's a question of
our
jobs.
approach.
It would be a question of like, can we get to a point where we can support ourselves on it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's so in our hands to do that. It's not some magical source that maybe will bless us with success.
Yeah.
It's like it's almost entirely up to us. And even in the cases when it isn't, it's up to us to realize that this is a limiting factor, fix it with something else, or look
Right.
elsewhere. It's like it's all on us.
Right.
And so I feel like it's very much the same.
Very much on us. Yeah, I think it is on us. But I still have the sense, and I think that is a bit of a difference between us, that I do still, even though I might not want to, I think I do blame external things for certain, I still feel like there's some things
a weird
that are out of my
line, right?
control.
It's like there are definitely factors that are external,
Yeah.
but they're just that. They're factors. It's up to us to identify them and know
Right.
how to deal with them.
Right.
Maybe it's something so big that, oh, okay, dealing with it means not dealing with it and not going there anymore.
Right.
Like if we're trying to work in the fashion industry, or we're trying to make music videos.
Yeah.
That's really something we're putting a lot of effort into. And
Okay.
it just again and again proves to be something that's really difficult at our level.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's up to us to realize that and look somewhere else, or to figure out a different approach.
Right.
And so even if it is something that is genuinely limiting externally, it's our like reaction to that matters.
Right.
More than the factor itself.
Yeah.
Even something as simple as like we get in contact with a potential client.
Yeah.
And we are talking with them and we send them some emails. We have a meeting with them, and then they end up saying they didn't want to work with us.
Yeah.
There might have been no scenario where we could have said the right thing or written the right email where they would have said, yes, we want to work with you. But I still think it's both more helpful to think, well, what could we have done differently?
Yeah.
Or to realize, well, the thing that was wrong about that was that we should have been able to identify earlier on, before we put a lot of work into trying to work with them, that there was no possibility of working with them. They were just the wrong client. They weren't going to buy from us whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
We just didn't offer what they needed.
Mm-hmm.
And so like either we should have identified it earlier, or we should have figured out a different approach to talking to them.
Right.
It's all on us in
Right.
every case. Like name a situation where it's not.
I agree, but I can still fuck up and I guess say, what am I trying to get at? I agree. I think you could take any situation and ultimately find something that you did or you could have done differently that would have changed the outcome of that situation. I agree. But I think you've got to fail and you've got to make mistakes, and it's got to not work out for you to
For sure.
learn those things a lot of times, right?
So that's, I'm not saying that the way to go is to analyze every last thing you said and try to figure out what you did wrong. It's just learn from it.
Right.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Right. Right.
But it's like to
there's
say,
still the
they're so annoying, they didn't want to work with us. Like, fuck them. Or like, No, it's
Yeah, fuck them.
It's up to like that doesn't
Yeah.
help. No one wants to buy videos in Copenhagen, or we can't get
Right.
jobs because no one wants to buy them.
Right.
Yeah, okay. Maybe
But
there's something.
I think that's maybe
something
where
truth about it.
Is that where it kind of goes into, like, for example, Copenhagen is the perfect example. I didn't think for 2 seconds about what business would be like over here, right? I just showed up. So maybe that's more in my head, the thing of like, well, it could have not worked out. And it wasn't this genius plan to move to Copenhagen because there's a bunch of potential film clients here. It's like in my head and in my life, a lot of things feel very like I let things go with the flow a little bit. And then every once in a while I'll put a hard, like, I'm going to make this movie. I'm going to do this thing. But everything in between is very like loosey goosey. And I think that's where I come from when I say, well, it could have not worked out. Does that mean that we would have been fucked? No, not at all. Right. But I guess that's where I sort of, and I would also say right now, the position we're in, I would say, oh, that's obviously we put a lot of work in and everything, but I would also tell people like, that was quite lucky. Like things have worked out really well. And I don't want to take all the what do you call it? Credit for that. Because some things were just shit that I put us on clutch. Some random website one day, probably because I was trying to procrastinate a little bit and was like, oh, let me add our business to this thing. And then a client comes from it. And it's like, you could be like, oh, good one, Taylor, and it's like, but that's not what I was thinking at the time.
No, I mean, there's a massive difference between intent and then just thinking in a certain way that is, well, what can we do differently? And just trying to do everything.
Yeah.
And to say in hindsight that we knew that making videos for free in the beginning was the way to go. Yeah. And it wasn't just like, well, what else are we going to do? Or it's an idea among many. Yeah. I mean, there's a massive difference, but I think that is...
But just to clarify, because I think sometimes maybe people could read into you and see it almost as, and I just want to dispel that because I don't think that's the case. They might see you as arrogant because what they might hear is you saying, I had it all figured out. Everything's in my control. I'm the one who made all those decisions. That's why, Yeah. And I think you're saying something more nuanced, obviously. But I think it can maybe come across like that sometimes.
It is that...
Or not even with you, but with like the law of attraction, or people being like, I wrote myself a check for 10 million. That's why I have 10 million in my bank account now and I can cash this check. It just comes across as like, ugh.
Yeah. I mean, it's I think that's with something like that, it is just not looking into it enough and actually thinking about what it is that's being said. Someone who says something like, I wrote on a note, I want to blah. Yeah. And saying, oh, they're just being arrogant for saying that they did that, and that's why now they stand here with that thing or having achieved that thing. Yeah. What they're trying to say is that I put intent into what I do on a daily basis. Every day, I'm thinking about what that thing is that I want to do. And I'm going to do what I can to work towards that. The thing is, I don't know exactly what is the best thing to do, but by thinking about it every day, you are constantly evaluating, constantly changing, constantly trying to get to that thing. Yeah. And that is something that is like, you want to point to it a little bit, because you feel like me writing that down and sticking to it, not just throwing that note away, but thinking about it every day, is a huge part of what made me every day try the thing again that didn't work yesterday, or have it not work 10 times in a row and go, okay, maybe this isn't the way to go. Maybe there's a different way. Yeah. And that you want to say, rightly so, that was a big part of my success in whatever way that is. It's not that I knew what to do. It's that I knew that I wanted to do it, and I'm going to find out how. Right. And that kind of anyone can do.
There's a big difference to me to say that's a big part of the reason why I now have $10 million is because I did that. I'm like, more power to you. Like, totally. But this is the reason, to me, gets to, like, there's so many factors. There's so much going on. And I get that, it's the same with, like, if you make a good movie, yeah, you're the one who made the good movie. But in my head, I'm always like, there were so many things that were
Yeah.
out of my control, if I'm being completely honest.
For sure.
And because you had a good idea or someone else had a good idea or something, all these things came together. And, you know, you could still say I facilitated that. If I hadn't been there, it would have never happened. So obviously there's some credit that can be attributed to me. But then there's a lot that I also feel like it just isn't.
I think we've talked about, like, and it's kind of like getting into luck a little bit and
Yeah.
what that means. And I think
Like-
we create our own luck in a lot of ways. Like, we set up enough opportunities that eventually we will get lucky.
Yeah,
Because we
I
are
believe
constantly
in that
searching
too.
for it.
But luck still exists.
And it happens. But I feel like if you, like, name one person who's achieved something without intent, just randomly happened upon it.
I'm sure I could find a few. But it would be like winning the lottery or some shit.
Yeah, but even that is like, that's not really achieving anything. That's just having a lot of money.
I see.
Like someone who's randomly woken up one day, oh, I'm a good father.
Right.
Or
Oh, I was just sleeping and I invented the computer.
I'm
What's
a really
this?
good filmmaker.
Yeah.
Or people like my artwork.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like it comes from some place of intent. And I feel like
Yeah.
it can't
But you can still
it can't
appreciate
exist without
both,
it.
or?
It can't exist without it. So
Yeah.
for me, it is, if you had to point to something that's the most important, would be that.
Yeah. Yeah, I would definitely say the same. I mean, I would value it over, but the same way, just us meeting to me is like a bit of like fate, a bit of like, wow, that was a magical kind of thing. You know, to me, it's not like oh, that was my plan. That was a total, you know.
Yeah.
But off of your thing,
yeah.
I went to film school. I did all these things
Yeah.
that put me in a position for that to happen.
Exactly.
But I can still say, wow, that was a magical sort of thing. That was totally unplanned on my part. That just felt like it sort of happened, right?
But you did reply to an email that I sent you saying, yeah, let's do it.
Right.
No one forced you to do that.
Yeah, I get that, but it's still, I guess.
It's like you
It's
were
very
thinking
interesting.
a certain way.
Yeah, exactly.
And I for some reason, sent you an email
Yeah.
because I was thinking a certain way too. I was thinking,
Right.
who can I reach out to that
Right.
might be interested in helping with this project?
Right.
I'm not just sitting going, no one wants to help.
Right.
And then, yeah, no one did help. You didn't ask anyone.
Yeah.
But yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But it's also like, I also emailed a bunch of other people
Right.
who didn't write back.
I see.
And it's like, that's, you know, it's part of, like, it all comes from somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then luck comes in and it tells you which ones are going to work out.
right.
And it determines the course.
Yeah.
That's what it does, maybe.
Yeah.
It shows you the way that ends up being the right way.
That I like more. That I can get behind more. I like that. How do we circle this back to your kid?
Well, I think
There was some
we're a
parallel
good place
to be drawn.
to stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to circle it back. No, fuck it. Let's stop.
No, come on, circle.
I would just like, we just went on this long. Let's try to put the two together.
That
Because
Was that- I was
I'm
at a
trying to, also just quickly, again,
Yeah.
I think I've said this already, but what I'm trying to get at is that we approach things very differently, and I just want to get your specific perspective on it. I'm not saying it's bad or it's worse or anything. I just find it interesting, you know, and to see how that sort of, how your thoughts on what you were just talking about kind of relate back to, you know, the decision to have a kid.
Yeah, so it's not like, maybe it helps to say what it's not. It's
Yeah.
not like I'm going one day, I really want to have a kid. I'm gonna risk it and just have a kid and hope that everything falls in place by the time I have him, which could be looked at as reckless or irresponsible by some people.
Yeah.
It is that I'm coming to the conclusion that this is actually something I want to do
Right.
for A, B, and C.
Right.
And the person I'm with wants to do it as well. And that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And then by thinking that way, that's what I'm going to do. Not saying, oh, I hope it works.
Yeah.
Saying, it's going to work.
Yeah.
I am going to, up until that point and forever, going to try and make that work
Yeah.
and figure out a way to get there. And that whatever I arrive at, if we're thinking of like the day he's born, where we're at,
Yeah.
that could be so many different things.
Yeah.
But it's somewhere different than had I not said that.
Yeah.
And it's going to be closer towards where I wanted to go in that aspect of my life. And the same with the Ironman. It's like I started running. This is really good. I feel like it does a lot for my mental health. I'm going to set a goal of some kind of race I want to try and run. And I realize, whoa, all the benefits that come from setting that goal that I get through the training, and then also the feeling of achievement when you then achieve that goal itself. Yeah, I want to do that again. I want to set another one and another one. And it's like until you set the date or say I'm going to do it and really mean it. And you know when you mean it.
Yeah.
It's like it's not a real thing yet. I feel like there's a time before you've done it that it actually becomes very real. At least there are also people who say a bunch of stuff and they never do them.
Yeah.
And I think that's very sad.
I respect that. And I think, maybe I am more similar because maybe it's just the way we talk about things. Because you just said the sort of, it's going to work, right? And
that's an abstract thing.
I know, but I say that a lot too. I just say it in a different way.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, it always works out.
Right. It is that. It's
right?
exactly that.
I know, but there's two different ways of saying it. And maybe it comes
is.
across. Because I'm like, I do that shit all the time.
Yeah.
People are like, the fuck are you doing quitting your job? And I'm like,
it's gonna
it'll be fine.
It'll work out.
How do you know? I don't know, but it'll be fine.
Yeah.
I don't know how.
Yeah.
But it's like, what's the worst that can happen? Right?
Right.
Even with the kid, I mean, it's like people in bumfuck Missouri and, my grandparents had fucking kids in a trailer,
Yeah.
It's like if they could figure it out, they had stories of like them eating baby food and them having no fucking money. And it's like, yeah, I guess people just figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. The kid's not going to die.
No.
It's not like, oh shit, we fucked up. We didn't make any money. The kid died. We couldn't support it, So maybe off of that, I do actually understand it completely because I think I do say that a lot as well. Maybe I would go about it differently, but I think mentally or sort of the way you live your life, maybe it is more similar than I think. And on that note, go fuck yourselves. Until next week, I'm Burning Boat Business.
Where did that come from?
I don't know. Just went for it.